Kawhi Leonard's $28 million controversy has sent shockwaves through the NBA, and the responses are becoming increasingly outrageous. Jeff Teague likened the situation to the infamous Joe Smith saga. Now the NBA is on high alert, scrutinizing the Clippers to ensure no shenanigans are happening. Last time they were involved with a seven-figure player, we had the case of your buddy Joe Smith. Balmer refuting any participation. I was powerless. Honestly, it was a deceitful venture. Perhaps no one had any authority. We are dismantling all aspects, beginning with. We're analyzing each response, kicking off with Jeff Teague. The initial shockwave came from an insider who truly understands the dynamics of the Clippers locker room. And did Jeff Teague ever share his thoughts? The ex-NBA point guard, who played for the Clippers in the 2020-21 season, didn't mince words when Pablo Torres' eye-opening inquiry was released on September 3, 2025. Teague hopped onto his Club 520 podcast quicker than Kawhi Leonard takes a game off. What he expressed was utterly heartbreaking. Wow, they claim it's the greatest thing ever. It's as if Kawhi managed to stash some cash secretly. You don't just drive over to LA. They take care of all the documentation in his files. He's about to make waves. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Teague wasn't merely hurling accusations like they were part of a celebratory event. This guy had first-hand knowledge because he was on the scene when this chaos was said to be happening. He highlighted how the claims assert Leonard supposedly pocketed $28 million via his KL2 Aspire LLC for, in essence, doing nothing but remaining with the Clippers. When I mention nothing, I truly mean nothing at all. No marketing, no posts on social platforms, no ceremonial tree plantings, zero. Then in Toronto, they'll demand the universe. Here, you can have it all. Bob, however, made it happen from a distance. Teague's analysis was nothing short of brilliant. He linked Leonard's famous load management practices to what he referred to as load managing endorsements. His delivery was so passionate that you could nearly sense the mic hit the floor through your speakers. Teague stressed that this issue transcended mere finances. It was about preserving the integrity of the salary cap framework that sustains the league's competitiveness. Hold on, there's additional info. Teague wasn't content with merely exposing the supposed plot. He went into full investigative accountant mode, dissecting how Balmer's $50 million investment in Aspiration coincided with Leonard's agreement just a few months later. Teague asserted that the timing was as questionable as an athlete citing day-to-day injuries for 3 consecutive months. He likened the possible repercussions to the notorious Joe Smith incident from 2000, where the Timberwolves faced severe penalties and forfeited draft picks for several years. Dude, the NBA is really focused now. They were checking out the Clippers, ensuring everything was above board. Last time we got involved, it ended badly, you know? Your dude, Joe Smith. Teague's perspective gained added weight due to his first-hand experience with the Clippers. He was part of the organization, witnessing Balmer's approach and grasping the dynamics surrounding Leonard. When he claimed something seemed off, people certainly took notice. However, if you believe that the fiery comments from one former teammate would ignite controversy, brace yourself for the striking quiet from another crucial figure who possesses deep insights into Leonard's mysteries, Patrick Beverley. Occasionally, what remains unspoken conveys just as much as spoken words. Patrick Beverley's total lack of response regarding the Leonard controversy is truly striking. This is someone who teamed up with Kawhi for 3 seasons, stood by him amid numerous load management debates, and has always voiced his thoughts on basketball topics openly. However, when the news of this $28 million scandal emerged, Beverley chose to go utterly silent in an intriguingly suspicious manner. The closest connection to this unfolding drama was an old podcast segment in which Beverley shared a text from Leonard stating, "The league stinks right now. The numbers are slim. I concur. Dime. They anticipate the grip. I suggest, inform them I'm totally virus. I mention, you respond, I'm about to lose my job. On my way. Stealthy operator. That's my role. I wish he lingers before returning." This clip dates back to November 2024, well ahead of any fraud claims emerging. Yet the coincidence of its reappearance amid this controversy was striking, capturing Leonard's mindset about pursuing his own path. In the same podcast, he mentioned, "I had a conversation with Kawhi on the phone yesterday." He likened him to a machine. That's a phone call. In other places, he insisted that Kawhi truly formed the Clippers into a solid squad. The perspectives are limited. They're lacking Kawhi. I'm all for it. I swung at him with a man. You see, I declared I ought to rule, come here. Indeed, that's the essence. I thought to myself, I need to create a king. In the top league globally for 3 consecutive years. Nope, it's not the K-Jack. Wishing you all the best. Wishing you all the best. And he messaged just like his laugh. He messaged in that manner. Like, HHAHA. But after the accusations emerged, Beverley has remained quiet. His lack of response indicates that this is someone who has always stood up for Leonard during past scandals. He has referred to Leonard as elite and a powerhouse before. He has consistently been swift to defend Leonard against those who doubted his dedication or effort. His utter silence on the matter implies he might be aware of information he's unable to disclose or is being encouraged to remain silent due to legal implications. The only slight breach in Beverley's quietude came when he endorsed a tweet that criticized the Clippers' rejection of the claims. This tweet pointed out the contradiction in the team's assertion of lacking oversight over Leonard's contract, considering Balmer's $50 million investment in the franchise. Additionally, the timing of Beverley's muted response adds an intriguing layer to the situation. At present, he's a free agent in search of a new team. The last thing he likely desires is to become entangled in a significant NBA probe by discussing the supposed salary cap infringements of his ex-teammates. Savvy agents advise their clients to maintain silence during ongoing investigations, particularly when they might find themselves called as witnesses if matters intensify. Meanwhile, while ex-players either erupted with anger or maintained an uncomfortable silence, the league's influential figures were gearing up to deliver their own theatrical reactions. Steve Balmer, when the wealthiest owner in professional sports chooses to break his silence on a $28 million controversy, you can be sure audiences will listen closely. In his exclusive interview, Balmer stated, "As the Clippers, we have adhered to the salary cap circumvention regulations because it is the ethical course of action. But was there a special allowance regarding our partnership with Aspiration? Certainly not. Certainly not. I became acquainted with this company when they reached out to us regarding a sponsorship arrangement. My family and I were very eager to collaborate in the fight against climate change. We believe it's a vital cause. I held no authority in this organization, which is quite significant under the salary cap regulations. My ownership stake was under 3%. Other investors contributed significantly more capital than I did." Interestingly, Balmer's defense approach was truly ingenious upon reflection. Rather than attempting to refute the occurrence of the Leonard agreement or the dubious nature surrounding it, he instead redirected all responsibility towards Aspiration, portraying himself as merely a casualty of their intricate deception. He openly admitted to feeling ashamed and somewhat foolish for failing to recognize that Aspiration operated under fraudulent pretenses. "I was powerless. Honestly, it was a deceitful enterprise. It's conceivable that no one had real control over the situation." However, this is where Balmer's narrative takes an intriguing turn. He outlined a comprehensive sequence of events that he asserts demonstrates a lack of collaboration between his investment and Leonard's agreement. He pointed out that Leonard's contract extension was finalized in August 2021. The sponsorship arrangement with Aspiration was revealed in September 2021, and Leonard didn't engage with Aspiration until November 2021, with the contract being finalized in April 2022. Adding further weight to Balmer's argument was his acknowledgement that the Clippers had initially contemplated granting Aspiration naming rights for their new arena before opting out of that decision. This aspect reinforces his assertion that he truly thought Aspiration was a reputable firm. After all, why would anyone attach a fake company's name to a billion-dollar venue? However, the most telling moment in Balmer's interview was his heartfelt reaction to the accusations. He conveyed frustration and sorrow for his staff and supporters caught in this controversy. It was evident that he felt deeply wounded by the implication that his investment choices were linked to a grand scheme. Having lost $50 million to con artists, he now faces scrutiny over his integrity as well. He insisted time and again that he couldn't fathom the reasoning behind the way Aspiration tailored Leonard's agreement, making him either shockingly naive or brilliantly astute, based on one's perspective. In today's economic climate, I opted to invest in these individuals, believing their intentions were sincere, and they might just be. At this point, I lack any insight into why they may have acted as they did. While Balmer adopted a victim mentality, Carr demonstrated surprising efficacy. Another NBA owner was gearing up to tackle this controversy from an unexpected viewpoint that left everyone stunned. Mark Cuban. This is where it gets captivating, as when Mark Cuban discusses NBA controversies, ears perk up, and he certainly had plenty to say. The billionaire entrepreneur and owner of the Dallas Mavericks didn't merely make offhand remarks about the incident. He dove deep into the issue, engaging in a lengthy 3-hour dialogue with Pablo Torre. Cuban's perspective was intriguing since, while others were busy criticizing Kawhi or taking shots at Balmer, he opted for an entirely unique angle. Cuban took an aggressive stance in support of Team Balmer right from the outset, albeit not in the expected manner. In a detailed Twitter thread on September 3rd, he expressed that, although he would have preferred the Clippers to bypass the salary cap since it would benefit his Mavericks, he doesn't believe Balmer would be foolish enough to try it. He directly stated that Steve isn't naive enough to jeopardize everything on a plan that could end in disaster. Yet, the real genius in Cuban's argument was his ability to turn the story around, casting ambition as the true antagonist rather than the Clippers themselves. Cuban highlighted that Aspiration's co-founder Joe Sandberg had previously admitted to committing $248 million in wire fraud, positioning Balmer more as a victim than a co-conspirator. He questioned why. If Balmer intended to secretly transfer funds to Leonard, he would allow the company to fail and reveal the entire situation to the public. Then, during his appearance on Pablo Torre's subsequent podcast, Cuban dropped a shocking revelation. He disclosed that Aspiration attempted to propose a collaboration to him back in 2020, which he refused. Cuban asserted that he narrowly escaped disaster by staying clear of what he now understands was a deceitful enterprise. The moment of this disclosure was impeccable as it illustrated that Aspiration was targeting affluent NBA owners broadly. Cuban's defense stood out not simply because he backed another billionaire, but due to his use of reason and factual support. He highlighted that the bankruptcy declaration revealed all of Aspiration's creditors, notably KL2's $7 million debt, which would be foolish if attempting to conceal a conspiracy. Cuban's core assertion was that such clumsy criminals could not have executed an elaborate strategy to bypass salary cap regulations. Yet Cuban wasn't entirely absolving everyone. He conceded that if the claims turned out to be valid, the entire Clippers leadership would face severe consequences, far harsher than the Joe Smith affair. While Cuban defended his co-owner, league insiders were poised to unveil significant revelations about the behind-the-scenes dynamics within NBA offices. Brian Windhorst discloses. When Brian Windhorst begins discussing the secret dealings in NBA front offices, you can anticipate genuine insider insights. The seasoned ESPN insider and basketball panelist didn't merely cover the Kawhi Leonard affair. He offered insights into the league's collective response to what could be the most significant salary cap controversy in NBA history. The revelations were nothing short of astonishing. Windhorst disclosed that athletes across the league were secretly shocked, yet remained publicly mute regarding the claims, underscoring the gravity with which this matter is being regarded. These are not just isolated rumors being tossed about casually. The situation has reached a level of seriousness that even current players hesitate to speak out, fearing they might complicate the investigation or incur penalties from the league. Windhorst's insider perspective was particularly illuminating here. He noted that the scandal's emergence during the offseason actually benefits the league, allowing ample time for a comprehensive investigation prior to the start of training camps. Nonetheless, he cautioned that if the process extends too far, it could significantly hinder the Clippers' readiness for the 2025-26 season, which would be a major setback for a team aiming to capitalize on its championship opportunities. Windhorst's analysis stood out due to his critical view of the circumvention allegations. While he recognized the deal's oddity, he questioned whether it was genuinely a deliberate ploy or merely a byproduct of ambition or a fraudulent operation. He highlighted that if this were indeed a calculated move to bypass the salary cap, allowing the firm to collapse and unveil everything would be remarkably unwise. Additionally, Windhorst offered essential background on the league's inquiry process, noting that the NBA promptly engaged Wachtell, Lipton, Rosen, and Katz, one of the nation's top law firms, to oversee the investigation. This isn't just a simple question. It's akin to deploying a tactical response team to tackle the issue at hand. Windhorst pointed out that, although the accusations are grave, the league's foremost priority is preserving the integrity of the salary cap framework. Should teams think they can bypass the cap via third-party sponsorships, it would fundamentally jeopardize the competitive equilibrium that underpins the NBA's success. The stakes are incredibly high, and this fact isn't lost on anyone within the league office. As Windhorst uncovered the hidden anxieties of league insiders, the basketball media's analytical experts were gearing up to dissect the deal meticulously. Zach Lowe, collaborating with Tim Bontemp, co-wrote an in-depth ESPN piece that scrutinized each facet of this purported arrangement. However, it was during his appearance on the Lowe Post podcast that Lowe truly unleashed his critique. He characterized the deal's structure as possessing troubling optics due to its enormous scale and glaring absence of tangible results. Lowe's analysis took a sharp turn into harsh territory. He juxtaposed Leonard's supposed $28 million endorsement deal with real celebrity partnerships that inspire. He highlighted how icons such as Drake and Leonardo DiCaprio actively back the brand, engaging in events and sharing on social media, while Leonard had no public engagements whatsoever. The difference was so pronounced that Lowe essentially claimed it wasn't an endorsement in any genuine sense. Rather, it was a concept masquerading as promotion. Lowe's argument became particularly striking due to his insight into the timing of events. The $50 million investment for Balmer occurred a mere 3 months prior to Leonard's contract signing, an alignment Lowe deemed questionable, regardless of Balmer's limited stake. He stressed that it was up to the Clippers to justify these transactions, especially considering the atypical contract conditions involved. But Lowe didn't merely scrutinize the agreement. He fully embraced predicting potential repercussions. In drawing comparisons to the 2000 Joe Smith incident, he pondered that should guilt be established, the Clippers might incur penalties ranging from $4.50 to $10 million, alongside potential draft pick losses, and possibly nullifying Leonard's $153 million contract. The breadth of punitive measures Lowe outlined was truly astonishing and illustrated the league's strict stance on salary cap infractions. However, crucially, Lowe upheld his journalistic ethics during his analysis. While he described the situation as troubling, he consistently underscored the importance of waiting for the completion of the investigation before reaching any definitive judgments. This cautious perspective from a highly esteemed basketball analyst carried substantial influence and paved the way for another insightful thinker to further explore the underlying data linked to this controversy. Kirk Goldsberry. When you need an expert to dissect the figures and reveal the statistical anomalies present, Kirk Goldsberry is the person you seek. The ex-San Antonio Spurs executive, now functioning as an analyst, examined the Leonard trade aspirations, effectively transforming into a statistical investigator with a basketball heritage. His recent appearance on the Ringer NBA show was nothing short of revealing, as he tackled the issue through a data-centric lens, eliminating any uncertainty regarding the unusual nature of the scenario. Goldsberry backed his insights with solid analysis rather than mere conjecture. He meticulously tracked Leonard's digital presence throughout the era when he allegedly received millions to advocate for Aspiration. The findings were precisely what one would anticipate from the stealthy operative. Absolutely nada. No tweets, no posts on Instagram, no references to tree planting or eco-friendly projects. It felt as if Leonard was pocketing $28 million to be completely off the radar, which could very well be the most quintessentially Leonard thing imaginable. Goldsberry's critique took a sharp turn for the worse at this point. He juxtaposed Leonard's supposed arrangement with genuine celebrity endorsements that inspire. Figures like Drake were visibly championing the brand, involved in tree planting initiatives, and interacting with their messaging. On the other hand, Leonard seemed to be pocketing $7 million every quarter while remaining mute about the company he was meant to support. Goldsberry's insights resonated deeply, bolstered by his insider knowledge gained during his stint with the Spurs. He shared that the executives he consulted were incredibly fearful of the regulations regarding salary cap circumvention, fully aware of the severe repercussions awaiting teams that are found guilty. This issue extended beyond merely the Clippers. It touched on the core integrity of the league's competitive equilibrium. Goldsberry also linked this scenario to Leonard's free agency saga in 2019, recalling the probe into his uncle Dennis Robertson for allegedly receiving illicit benefits during the recruitment phase. Though the NBA initially cleared Leonard and his team, Goldsberry indicated that this seemed to indicate a troubling trend involving one of the league's premier figures. The analyst concluded their scathing assessment by warning that if the allegations turned out to be accurate, the repercussions could cripple the Clippers' entire 2025 to 2026 season before it even commenced. With training camps kicking off on September 23rd, the timing of this inquiry couldn't be worse for a franchise aiming for a title, as the data specialists were busy analyzing and revealing the numerical absurdities of this transaction. The most fiery voice in basketball commentary was poised to deliver a devastating verbal onslaught on all those implicated. Stephen A. Smith. If you believe Jeff Teague was passionate, you obviously haven't witnessed Stephen A. Smith's reaction to a Kawhi Leonard debacle. The ESPN figure, who relishes any chance to commandeer a mic, truly let loose when this news emerged. It was, frankly, everything we anticipated and then some. Smith didn't merely respond to the incident. He crafted a complete character dissection that was both ruthless and strangely captivating. It incorporated provisions permitting Leonard to remain inactive while still receiving his compensation. That's the Kawhi Leonard I'm familiar with. Inactivity coupled with paycheck acquisition. For years, Stephen A. has been on the Kawhi's case regarding the Lowe management issue. Yet this controversy handed him top-tier ammunition. He aggressively addressed it on First Take, labeling Leonard as a perpetual absentee on the roster and highlighting how this supposed no-show agreement aligns perfectly with Leonard's tendency to rake in huge salaries for minimal exertion. Here's a man who featured in New Balance ads, and the children chattered, Molly. The kids, he never mentioned where. I watched them approach him, asking for autographs and interacting with the crowd while he lounged on a bench, having amassed over $40 million, yet he refused to engage. For years, he has done next to nothing. What made Stephen A.'s impact so profound was his ability to link everything together. He wasn't merely discussing this particular agreement. He was illustrating Leonard as an individual who has perfected the skill of